Middleton three-pointer. It's good! More Middleton magic! Booker fires a three. Bang! Devin Booker from downtown! Knocked away and stolen by Holiday! And a pinnacle ball throws it down! What a turnaround!
We know what the deal is. It's one game away from being an NBA champ, but the job is not done.
Good day. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into First Take. Thank you for hanging with us. Hope you all had a fabulous weekend. Stephen A. Smith, Max Kellerman, I'm Molly Karen Rose. Gentlemen, we ready to do this?
Let's do it.
Every day.
All right, let's go. The Bucks one game away from hoisting a Larry O'Brien trophy. But let's talk about some of the highlights, fellas. Max, how about the Drew Holiday steal and then the alley-oop? Unreal, right?
It was a great play by Drew Holiday, and he credited team defense. Stephen A. He's right about that. I love the fact that they went for it. They went for the win. Fortune favors the bold,
yes,
right?
Sir.
They were going for it. They were trying to score. Good for them. But Stephen A. Smith, the thing that blew my mind was the Chris Paul foul. That was such a blunder. That's an all-time. If the Suns go on to lose this series, oh my God. Like I'm kind of rooting for them in Game 6 just because they can't go out like that. Stephen A. If you're going to foul, which is a stupid thing to do because you can't stop him at that point, you got to make sure that he doesn't score. And by the way, he's up in the air. It's a dangerous foul. But if you just don't foul, it's a one-possession game with 15 seconds left. You have the ball. Well, you could get to overtime pretty easily in that situation. By fouling, you are begging for it to be a two-possession game with 15 seconds left. For all intents and purposes, that's the end of the game. It was boneheaded on so many levels, and to occur in that situation, in that moment, that leverage was unreal to me. I really hope Chris Paul has a great Game 6. His legacy needs it.
Well, I'm praying that he does as well, but as important as that play was, and I certainly don't try to diminish from that, Max Kellerman, the bottom line is when the big three are playing, they played like a big three on Saturday. Middleton had 29, and his mid-range game is just pure. That's the word that comes to my mind. Just pure, silky, smooth. Amari Hardwick from Power was texting me during the game talking about how, just Middleton's mid-range game is something special to behold. That definitely enters your mind. Drew Holiday having 27 points and 13 assists. He's playing spectacular basketball on both ends of the floor. He deserves a lot of credit. When the big three do something like that, they are a big three. They definitely are not a fake big three. Make no mistake about it. And that's what we saw Saturday night. Certainly the play by Chris Paul and a turnover prior to that by Devin Booker. It's amazing that the way that he played, dropping 40 points, playing the way that he's been playing, trying to offset what Milwaukee was throwing at them, that it came down to those two. Booker turning the ball over, and then CP3 committing that foolish foul because he certainly didn't need to do that, because if Giannis had got the breakaway dunk, alley-oop, and it was just that, they still would have been within 3 and had the potential to tie it. But to me, what really, really stands out in my mind, I came into this game thinking about Cameron Johnson and how they needed to get him playing time and they need him to get him the ball. The guy played 21 minutes, took 3 shots, made 2. I lost count, Max, at how many times he was open, and neither CP3 nor Devin Booker got him the basketball. Now, it was offset to some degree by Booker because Booker would look him off and then go and do his own thing, and most of the time he made the basket. So it was offset by that. But Cameron Johnson definitely deserved more shots than he got, and I also thought that was pivotal to the outcome.
Stephen A., in the moment of truth, though, you're right. Booker was going to play hero ball. The Milwaukee Bucks knew it, and they stripped them because Drew Holiday is a heads-up type player. You're right about that. You got to move. You got to spread it around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we saw their resiliency on the road, 16-point comeback. Guys, let's keep going. So Game 6 is tomorrow. Milwaukee can close it out on their home floor and claim their first NBA championship since 71 when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was leading the charge. Stephen A. Smith, is this series already over?
I believe it is. I I have to be consistent with what I said prior to Game 5 on Saturday, Friday when we were on the air. I said Milwaukee's not losing Game 6. So if you're the Phoenix Suns, you need to win Game 5 so you can ultimately force a Game 7. They did not do that. And as a result, I think that the Milwaukee Bucks close this out Tuesday night, and they end up winning their first championship since the 70s. Giannis Antetokounmpo, I just can't say enough about the guy. Still doesn't have a perimeter shot, obviously. Still struggles with his free throws. But the hard work, the dedication, the focus, the tenacity, the fact that he galvanizes guys around him and brings them together. He lifts them, he uplifts them, he doesn't tear them down. He does things that stars are supposed to do. And to consider the fact that this guy signed with Milwaukee and stayed there, got $245 million in the process, for them to acquire Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton, although they were assisted because a guy like Kyrie Irving gets hurt, because if Kyrie Irving hadn't gotten hurt, I do believe that Brooklyn would be in the finals instead of Phoenix. No question about that. But in the end, it doesn't take away from what we've seen the Milwaukee Bucks do. Chris Middleton's game, again, his mid-range game is pure. And not only that, he closes. And Drew Holiday, we always know him as an elite defender, but to have 27 points and 13 assists in that pivotal game 5 on a row speaks volumes for him and what he brings to the table. The Milwaukee Bucks are bigger. They are stronger. They are more athletic. They are deeper. And really, it's the heroics of Devin Booker, along with contributions, whether it's CP3, Mikal Bridges, or somebody in and out, that's kept this series interesting. But the better team is ahead right now, just simply because they're bigger, stronger, more athletic, deeper, etc. I'm not saying that there's no way in hell that Phoenix can't overcome this, but it looks quite daunting, to say the least. And if I got to bet my money, I'm betting it on Milwaukee closing this series out tomorrow night at the Fiserv Center, at the Fiserv Forum. I think it's over.
I don't think it is over. It's possible the Bucks close them out, but it's quite possible the Suns win at Milwaukee. Look, why do I say that? I just saw them in the last 2 games, one at Milwaukee, one in Phoenix. I saw the game come down to the final play. I saw it come right down to the wire. I'm supposed to believe, because we talk about things like momentum in the press, the fans in the press do, even the players and the coaches do, that somehow that means that the Suns can't win. Momentum is one Phoenix play away from not existing right now in either games 4 or game 5. The reason the Bucks are beating the Suns at this moment is because when it mattered most, they got great play from their best players. The Suns have not. Now, maybe you're right, Stephen A., and that means that, in fact, the Bucks are better. Because with the money on the line, Giannis comes through. Middleton comes through in this series. Drew Holiday has now come through big time with his defense. And then the alley part of the U, right? I get it. Do I believe that Chris Paul and Devin Booker are incapable of that kind of play? No, I don't. Either one of those guys can take over a game. I've seen it in these playoffs. In these playoffs, they've done heroic things. They now need to do that. Someone has to do it, even if it is passing to an open Cam Johnson. But you got to make great plays at the end of these games. That's the reason Milwaukee right now is up 3-2. Instead of the series being over, or vice versa, or the Suns up 3-2. Could have easily been that way.
My only response to that, Max, is that I can say, honestly, I hope you're right, because I love Game 7s. Particularly, I just love a Game 7, and the thought of a Game 7 with Booker and CP3 and those boys back in Phoenix, I would absolutely, positively love to see it. I just can't see it. They've lost 3 straight. Milwaukee clearly has the momentum. And as I told you Friday, that crowd, they showing the Deer Park, folks outside there. They talk about 12, 15,000. No, there's about 25,000 people out there, bro. They were packed to the hilt. And it's going to be absolute hysteria and pandemonium inside the Fiserv Forum tomorrow night. I mean, I just expect a sensational environment. And Giannis, true to form, called on the fans there, talked about how big this game is going to be, probably the biggest in franchise history, clearly the biggest in the last half century. Take all of those things into consideration with the way they've been playing basketball. The fact that they've played and engaged in bully ball, that they've attacked Phoenix's depth. And then you combine that with the fact that Middleton has closed and Holiday has opened. He opens up, he's aggressive at the start of the games in terms of his perimeter shots and trying to make things happen, clearly trying to make things happen on the defensive end of the floor. you consider all of those things that we've been witnessing right now, I just feel like I find it very, very hard to believe that Phoenix is going to overcome this. Now, they can do it, and I hope they do, because, again, I would love a Game 7. I just don't see them having blown the last 3 games and then somehow, some way, finding something inside themselves that they couldn't find over the last 3 games to pull this out. I just don't see it.
Well, look, in order for the Bucks to be here, it's not just that they had to make plays. In consecutive games, they had to make 2 of the most, these are among the most memorable plays in the history of the NBA now. That block by Giannis and then followed by the alley-oop, those are among the most memorable plays of all time in the finals.
Well,
in consecutive games in order to win. And one of those plays had to be combined with an all-time blunder by a normally clutch player in Chris Paul. So what I'm saying is, do the Bucks have that in them again? Because the Suns have shown they can hang right in there. And the Bucks, in order to beat them, need not only the greatest plays of all time, but in addition, the Suns messing up. That's going to happen 3 games in a row?
Well, Max, it doesn't have to happen 3 games in a row. It's already happened 2 games in a row. And the fact is, you can look at it and say missed opportunities, because usually when we're talking about the runner-up to a championship, most times, more often than not, in fact, it comes down to missed opportunities. And how many missed opportunities are you going to be granted before you're allowed to overcome them? That's really the issue in question here. This reeks of a championship that the Phoenix Suns are saying, damn, we had this moment here, we had this moment there, we had that moment there, and we didn't get it done. Let's keep in mind that block by Giannis, if DeAndre Ayton had laid it in or dunked it, that would have tied the score. That wasn't necessarily going to seal the deal for the Phoenix Suns. They still could have lost that game. Let's keep in mind that if Chris Paul doesn't foul Giannis Antetokounmpo on the alley-oop slam, Milwaukee is still up 3. Let's keep in mind that when the strip took place and ultimately Devin Booker was stripped by Jrue Holiday, Milwaukee was still up 1. So the same thing that you could say about the Phoenix Suns and how they were so close, I could also point out how it's justified to look at Milwaukee and say, well, they were ahead, they were in position to win, and so it's apropos that they ended up winning the basketball game.
Well, that's fair.
Then when you combine all of that with the size, the depth, the athleticism, the fact that an injury to Dario Saric, Chris Paul clearly is not 100%. They recognize that in his age and attrition and how they had Jrue Holiday pick him up 75 to 90 feet away from the basket just to make him work and work and work. And then you look at Phoenix's youth, because there's really no excuse. Even though they were a minus 19 with Cameron Payne on the floor, which speaks to the defensive liability that he may have been, the bottom line is he took 2 threes. He made them both. And I talked about it coming into this game. Find a way to get him the basketball. Offensively, he's not scared of the moment. Get it to him, and he's going to hit more shots than he misses. And unfortunately, Devin Booker and Chris Paul on several occasions looked him off and didn't find him when he was wide open. They could have gotten him the ball. They should have gotten him the ball. And I think he would have made positive things happen.
What you point out about the all-time great plays in consecutive games the Bucks made plus an all-time blunder by Chris Paul, what you point out about the fact that the Suns would have still had to do things, positively do things, do good things in order to win those games, that's true. Let's keep in mind also, Milwaukee came back from a 16-point deficit very early in the game. But they came back from a 16-point deficit, and part of the way they did that was by shooting the lights out. Like, they weren't missing. The Bucks don't normally shoot as well as they shot last night. So what I'm saying is a lot has had to go right for the Bucks, and a lot has had to go wrong for the Suns.
Well,
for the Bucks to have the slimmest of margins here.
Let's also give real quick, Molly, let's give Giannis some credit in this regard. Giannis has showed himself to be a pretty damn good playmaker as well, because he's making the right passes and he knows his personnel and who to give the ball up to. And somehow, some way with the Phoenix Suns, damn, do you have to double all the time? Why are we doubling Giannis, 17 feet away from the basket? He made some of those shots Saturday night, but let him continue to make it. Challenge him to make those shots
downhill.
Because that's a low percentage, because you cannot leave Jrue Holiday and Chris Middleton open. You can't do it.
All right, let's dive deeper and focus.